Business Review, a daily program that delves into the latest and most significant economic stories. From stock markets to currency news, Business Review covers the most up-to-date stories in the global financial world.
Kak and Mamoul, which are considered fruit of the feast for the Palestinians, are being prepared with huge quantities, especially in the final days of the month of Ramadan, in preparation for kneading and baking on Eid nights, as they are prepared in circular and tablet forms filled with dates and nuts. The price of Kak and Mamoul varies from 17 to 50 shekels per kilo, depending on the type of filling used. Still, Mamoul and Kak are one of the most prominent manifestations of celebration and joy associated with Eid al-Fitr, despite the harsh economic conditions that the Palestinians are going through.
As for Kak and Mamoul, the purchase movement abounds on them during Eid and happy occasions, when people want them a lot. It's an ancient heritage that we have here in Palestine, and there are many types of Kak and Mamoul. Some are stuffed with nuts, dates or halqum. The demand increases a few days before Eid, where we start preparations for the Eid purchase. This is a habit followed from a long time ago. In every home there must be kak, if not made, then bought from pastry bakeries. But they must be present, especially in the holiday season.
This delicious soft dessert spreads in all regions of Palestine. The kaks are stuffed with ajwa dates and prepared in form of circles, while the mamoul work is made with molds, while decorated with some motifs and drawings, and stuffed with dates or nuts, such as pistachios and walnuts, and sprinkled with white powdered sugar on its outer surface. In spite of the prevalence of kak and mamoul at home, where family members gather to make it, there is a large category of the spectrum of the Gazan society that buy ready-made from public markets, candy stores, or women's associations for processing of popular foods.
The kak and mamoul bakeries in Gaza have many advantages. Not only provide delicious sweets to the Gazan community, but they occupy the hands of many workers. The bakeries offer all kinds of kaks that are served to people, as they constitute an additional income for the bakeries, as people are very popular with them. Kak and mamoul are one of the traditional things that are a great deal in Eid especially. Many people rush to the bakeries these days to buy their kaks, and this sale revives the economy these days a lot.
It turns out that the demand of Palestinian families to make or buy kak and mamoul led them to make huge quantities, especially on Eid al-Fitr, as the demand for it on this occasion increases, despite the fact that it is not interrupted from markets throughout the year. For KTV2, this is Business Review Program, Yumna Syed, Gaza, Palestine.
Spain plans to spend 3 billion euros a year on a scheme to provide most of its poorest citizens with a minimum income aimed at bringing poverty down to the European Union's average from the highest rate in Western Europe. Social Security Minister José Luis Escrivá said the cabinet is expected to approve the first nationwide non-universal income support program designed to reach 850,000 households or 2.5 million Spaniards. The minority leftist coalition government also wants to improve the efficiency and fairness of income distribution in a nation that has long lagged most of Europe on that front and whose economy is reeling from the coronavirus crisis. The scheme, under which households with children will have preference in terms of eligibility, will set a minimum income level for an adult of about half the minimum wage, which now stands at €1,108 per month. That income will rise depending on how many children or dependents a household has. The exact details of income and requirements have not yet been approved. Escrivá, a former banker, said the aim of the minimum income scheme is to try to eradicate extreme poverty, which is a major problem in Spain. Escriva said the measure could help rein in the informal economy, which according to the IMF accounts for around 20% of GDR, since users will be obliged to give their data to tax authorities. Spain has the largest share of population at risk of poverty in Western Europe, 21.6%. That's according to the latest AEU data, and the fifth largest in the bloc, where the average is 16.9%. It's the third worst in terms of income distribution in the AEU. The European Council has strongly recommended Spain create an income support program, arguing that only 20% of those who need help receive it, and that last year it was the member state with the lowest average of family benefits per child. Initially, Spain will try to reach the potential beneficiaries, who, according to tax statistics, may need such assistance, and will work with charities and town halls to reach the maximum number possible. Other assistance, such as housing, will also be permitted and coordinated on a single universal social ticket, something unprecedented in highly decentralized Spain.
The Scottish Government announced Scottish schools will reopen in August, although at first children will spend around half their time learning at home and half at school in smaller classes to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Scotland, which has a semi-autonomous government with responsibility for health and education, is delivering from its much more populous southern neighbour England, where schools are due to start reopening from June 1st. Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon outlined a 4-phase incremental plan to ease lockdown restrictions from May 28th. Progression from one phase of lockdown to the next will be contingent on how well the virus is being contained. The first phase will see a loosening of rules on outdoor exercises and meeting people from other households, similar to measures announced last week for other parts of the UK. The announcement on schools was much anticipated, with many working parents and their employers looking for clarity on the situation in the coming weeks and months. The government added smaller class sizes would allow schools to better implement physical distancing measures, such as moving seats further apart and staggering arrivals, breaks, and departures. Where possible, libraries, community halls, leisure centres, and conference venues will be used to give schools extra space. Teachers and other school staff will return in June to prepare for the new way of operating. The government also said time spent in school will increase further as soon as it is safe for that to happen.
With lockdown measures more relaxed, social lives are slowly becoming possible. Restaurants, bars, gigs, and museums beckon, but as we take our first cautious steps back into the wider world, we are finding it transformed. Gone are restaurants so busy that you have to wait for service or the check. Now, in the coronavirus era, social distancing has made eating out a very different experience. At Da Enzo's in Rome, waiters no longer hand out menus, but hold up a scan code. Customers point their smartphones at it, and menus pop up on the screen with the day's specialities. In the Netherlands, dining companions from the same household might eat right a candlelit table inside a small glass booth on the banks of an Amsterdam canal, a concept being tried out by ETEN restaurant. If that doesn't appeal, diners can try eating with a see-through lampshade on their heads, created by French designer Christophe Guernion for the restaurant owners who want to protect customers from the virus. Other designs on the market resemble visitor booths in prisons, Guernion said, prompting him to create a cylinder of transparent plastic that hangs from the ceiling, much like a lampshade. Want to catch a movie after dinner, but your local cinemas closed under lockdown rules? Drive-in cinemas are seeing a revival, popping up in Lithuania, Dubai, and the United States. On the Côte d'Azur in Cannes, you can drive to Palm Beach and watch from the comfort of your own car. If clubbing is your thing, Germans got the party started with a drive-in rave in the car park of Club Index in the town of Schutorf near the Dutch border. Clubbers, limited to 2 per car, parked in rows in front of a DJ and hopped around to the beats while respecting government-imposed social distancing measures. Lasers, glow sticks, confetti, and a whole lot of horn honking set the mood as people celebrated their newfound freedom. And forget lockdown beards and daytime pajamas. Soon there will be no more excuses for the Robinson Crusoe quarantine look. Designers from Lebanon to China to Nigeria are creating extraordinary face masks and protective clothing. In Belgium, deaf people are calling for transparent masks to allow them to communicate with others. And at the Royal Volue Institute in Brussels, a special needs school, teachers are sewing masks that contain a transparent window to show the mouth, which can be especially important for children with autism. Belgium, like other European countries, is slowly coming out of lockdown as the wave of transmission of the virus eases, but donning masks is new to much of the population. Here, like elsewhere, people are having to adapt to get protective gear which suits their needs and their return to daily life.
The head of the country's Growers Federation said preventing the spread of berry borer beetles and harvesting in spite of labor shortages are Colombian coffee farmers' top challenges for the remainder of 2020. 2 months of coronavirus quarantine in Colombia, the world's top producer of washed Arabica beans, has complicated growers' efforts to find pickers, though farms are exempt from lockdown. Output fell in the first 4 months of the year because the lack of rains delayed flowering. The Federation has urged farmers not to leave mature coffee fruit unharvested or allow fruit to accumulate below their trees. Colombian growers were already facing persistent labor shortages as young people moved to cities and shun the work of hand-picking coffee cherries. Growers around South America have said coronavirus restrictions and social distancing could make it even more challenging to find workers. Velez said safety measures meant to prevent coronavirus on farms, including use of face masks, frequent hand washing, social distancing, and disinfection efforts, will continue until the virus is controlled. Velez predicts output will fall this year to around 14 million 60-kilogram bags, down from a record 14.8 million in 2019.
The Brazilian city of São Luís became the country's first major city to implement a coronavirus lockdown on May the 5th, and now local authorities are crediting it with slowing the growth of new cases. Local television images show São Luís hospitals freed up space in their COVID-19 treatment wings in the past 2 weeks after the lockdown forbade people from going outside except to obtain groceries, medications, or cleaning supplies. The city's attempts to implement stricter confinement measures run counter to loosening elsewhere in the country, even as the virus spread shows little sign of slowing. Brazil's coronavirus outbreak worsened, and the South American nation could soon have the second highest number of cases in the world. While the president, Jair Bolsonaro, has compared the virus to a little flu, the reaction of Brazil's 27 state and district governments has varied widely. Most have imposed business restrictions of some sort, in which non-essential services and commerce are forbidden, while stopping short of mandating official lockdown, which would limit people's movement. In some areas, enforcement has been spotty, and shops have remained open despite official decrees.
This has been Business Review, your daily source for the most critical stories in the financial world. Tune in next time for the latest financial news impacting the world economy.